And I said, when you play this, you play it like this. That's wrong. Da 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 da. I said, no. Play it. Da 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 da. It's like a chauffeur.
Like a klezmer.
Yeah, a chauffeur. I mean, it's a raucous sound.
Yes.
Da, instead of da. I rehearsed it with him,
yes.
right then and there. Now I'm talking about something that lasts less than a second.
But
all right. Well, when they started again, he did it, and the entire orchestra that wasn't playing broke into a huge smile and nodded to me. Michael Lancaster turned around and bowed to me, and the next 4 minutes of the music was changed. The whole coloration was changed by something that lasted less than a second. So it's like an artist putting in that final dab, that coloration.
Time. It's not time, it's the content.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you wonder, is it long enough? Is it too short? It's none of those things. It's what's inside the time.
Little extra.
Well, there's a lot of people that want to get into technology, and they find it very daunting. The technology keeps changing. How did you do it? How did you overcome the challenges of learning this technology? Did you have a teacher?
No. Well, I got the computer set up and the synthesizer, but then I was involved as a physician with nuclear arms movement education and things like that, and I was sending a letter out to 600 people. I said, darn it, I'm going to do it. And so and I did. I got the prototype out, went to the printer, and then I realized it's no big deal.
It's not a big deal.
It's no big deal.
You just have to know how to do it.
You just have to be patient and say, I'm going to make a lot of errors, and trial and error. But see, the way one gets the speed is by the trial and the error. If somebody comes and teaches you immediately, you can do it. But then you kind of lose some of the problem-solving skills,
yes.
which become intuitive.
Yes.
You know, something will happen, and you say, well, it's probably got to be in this area, and you're there. And so I think being self-taught was probably a good idea. And I was fascinated. I love puzzle solving anyway.
You find the Macintosh better for that?
At that time, it was the only way to go.
Okay.
I am not conversant enough to give advice now.
Okay.
I still think the majority of composers use Macintosh.
Yeah. Okay. Now your CD, Albert Hurwit Symphony No. 1, entitled Remembrance, has been picked up by the following record companies: Albany, Capstone, Centaur, MSN Classics. You are becoming successful.
Well, step by step, I'm starting to progress. Yes, I'm honored that 4 record label companies accepted mine. I picked MSR Classics because they could handle it the quickest, and also I maintained more control, and probably at this point you realize that I am a bit of a control freak, and I did want the control. It is going to be distributed by Albany. They worked out an arrangement with MSR Classics, so Albany is also distributing it. And it's on, you know, the usual stores and on the web and Amazon and all that stuff.
Okay, now the Bulgarian National Radio Symphony Orchestra, they are the ones that performed on the CD.
Yes, oh yeah.
But the world premiere was through the Hartford?
Well, the world premiere was of the 3rd movement only.
Yes.
Edward Cumming, Michael Lancaster left the Hartford Symphony. A few years later, Edward Cumming became the new concertmaster and musical director, and he heard the music and liked it, and he performed the 3rd movement.
How long is the 3rd movement?
3rd movement is 16 minutes.
All right. Can you talk a little bit about that movement? Because we might have an opportunity to hear more of it here in Connecticut.
Good. Well, I hope you do. And yes, the 3rd, carrying along with the family history. By the way, you're a great interviewer, because every scene like a symphony has an argument. We're progressing nicely.
Right.
All right. But the 3rd movement takes on, I left off with the 2nd movement where
yes.
You Must Go, the Cossacks, they separated forever.
Yes.
The 3rd movement is the feeling of sadness, desperate sadness, that this very close family would never see each other again. And what would it be like? I mean, I look at my 3, when our family gets together, which is frequent, the 14 of us, and if my wife and I had to say to my children and their wonderful spouses and the 6 grandchildren, you must go to the moon, because that's what it was like then. You must go, and we're never going to see each other again. I mean, you don't have to be a composer or an artist to start feel that. And I hope some of those feelings came out in the music. And that's what the third movement is, this overwhelming feeling of loss.
Now, isn't part of it, you mentioned the music is bubbling out of you. Isn't it part of the story is that the music demanded to be written? It just was something that almost possessed you.
It had to. Once I got rid of the heebie-jeebies and the reservations because of my good friend and somebody who's been just so instrumental, if you pardon the pun, in creating the symphony. He's been like Ann Sullivan to Helen Keller.
You're talking about Michael
Lancaster. He just brought this out and gave me confidence. And God bless him is right. I mean, I owe a lot to him. And he loves it. I mean, it's been a thrilling experience for him too. But it's just been wonderful having him. And because of that, I've been able to take some of these additional steps. Not that he created the steps, but he created within me the confidence and you know, the need to be aggressive and forceful in carrying this through to get one's goal.
Now, another aspect I think which is very educational is the idea that sometimes somebody writes a song, they have an initial emotional feeling, a vision, something that they see, and they put it down in a rough form, whether it's into a cassette recorder or whatever it might be. And then they patchka around with it, and they say they're going to fix this, make that correct, and this correct. And at the end, they wind up with nothing. Now, part of the idea of you not having the formal education in music has enabled you to sidestep a lot of that, because that's all you have is that natural feeling of just seeing that it must sound like this, or I feel this, or I feel that. And you wind up being true to your own vision.
It's interesting, a couple of critics, this phrase has kept coming up, that it's honest. It's naive in a way, which can be good or bad, but it's extremely honest. My construction,